Earlier this year, we heard from the president of the Barna Research Group, David Kinnaman, who said that young people over 15 are leaving, 64%, of young people over 15 years old will leave the church for good or for an extended period of time. 64%. And on the counter, he said that when he did research of those young people, they said one thing that would keep them in the church is intergenerational mentoring.
Really?
Yes, they said
Wow.
Actually there was 5 points, amazing points, but one of the key points was if they were mentored or had relationship with people that were not their age, that would be something that would keep them in the church. And I know you two have a very, very special mentoring relationship.
We do.
And I want to talk about that because that actually sits right into the statistic that we discussed earlier. So what does that look like for you two as you mentor? Because obviously we're different ages. How is that working? What does it look like?
Well, you want to start? You want me to start?
Okay.
You go.
So the first time I ever heard Bessie speak, she pretty much embodied something that I really remember wanting as a child. There was this woman that would come speak at my church named Cheryl Salem, and I remember as a kid watching her, and I've been acting since I was 3.5, so at the time I was working, but I remember my heart leaping out to her and just really wanting to do what she did. I didn't know if that was sharing my testimony, I didn't know if that was preaching, but my heart leapt to do that, and I, in my 10-year-old brain, was like, that could never happen though, because God's called me to be an actress, and those two would never come together. So then years later, when I went through my really dry season, Bessie came to Arizona, and I just so happened to have stayed extra days in Arizona and got to hear her preach. And I remember just being totally floored because she embodied everything that I had desired as a kid and wanted as a kid. And it was just like in the flesh, like if you love NASCAR, seeing your biggest NASCAR driver, she does what she does. With
She just compared you to a NASCAR driver.
Of the greatest, the highest caliber. Yeah. So I think it's just tangibly being able to see, at least for me, tangibly being able to see somebody who is walking out what I want to walk out. So then that makes me know that A, I can get there, and B, that that I have someone to, the mentoring thing is so important because I have someone to ask when I go through the rivers of difficulty. I will know, how did you overcome that? How did you draw from her wisdom? I'm continually drawing from her wisdom. I think that's what it was for me, is just that mentor thing is so important because a lot of times I really believe this strongly. I have a heart for my generation, and I think that a lot of the times God asks such big things of our generation, and people have such big dreams. And so for me, a lot of my depression came from me having all of this vision and all these things that I see myself doing, but I don't know how to get there. And so then I shut down and I get immobilized, and
it's so overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you know it's there because you feel it in your bones. You're made for it, Psalms 139. And so I think that being able to physically, tangibly see someone do it is the biggest thing in the world.
Now then, did you, when you were like, wow, this woman who's equal to a popular NASCAR driver.
I've never heard that one before.
Did you just run up to her and go, you need to be my mentor?
I was like, well,
yeah, we never used the word mentor for a while.
Yeah.
It was actually, yes, she got, after the service, we went for a burger. I've been friends with her mom since I was a young child, but we live on different coasts, so I didn't have any relationship with her because she was so much younger than me, obviously. So we went for a burger, and
I just kept questioning her.
And when I started to talk about the word, I would start a sentence, she would finish it. Now, I don't know people that know a word like that. That's a very, small demographic. So I'm like, how does this young girl have such a knowledge? So that is what immediately did my heart to her.
Yeah.
So we got this common love for the Word of God. But I'm 20 years older than her, so obviously, I've been in it a lot. But as I'm talking to her, so I'm talking to her like somebody that's, another preacher friend of mine. And so I'm like, what are you doing with this? And she's like, well, I'm being used here or there, So that's where it started. Well, we separated. We went back to our coasts. I'm on the East Coast, she's on the West Coast. But we began to talk over the phone. And I seen a hunger for the Word and to do things for the Lord. So I just wanted to cultivate that, never dreaming that as I was sowing into her, God was going to turn around and use her to be so instrumental in my life. It makes sense for me to mentor her, but it's when she's mentoring me that doesn't make sense. But what I got from Madeline was what I seen her do was she was reaching masses, millions of people with the message, especially when she went into I Can Only Imagine, and it's a gospel message on the film. It's not the way that most people preach, but she's reaching, and I'm like, you're reaching the world with the message of Jesus Christ. And I'm scared, but I want to do that, and so she came into my life and started to pour back into me, in the fact that she was like, God has got huge things for you. You need to be, why are you taking this gift and not sharing it with the world? You've wrote this book, you need to get it published, and so she just started to broaden, and I could see reaching so many more people.
See, I love that, Bessie, because she's younger by a few years.
Yeah.
But you're saying, but I could learn and partner with her to sort of advance the passion that God's given. And you're saying, wait a second, I have all these questions and I'm overwhelmed and I need to be with somebody like Bessie who's out there speaking and doing it. I love that.
It's great.
Do you know how many times, that so many of us are answer to prayers to so many other young women, older women, if only we just got together?
And you know what? I want to loop back around to talking about the inner beauty.
Really
and she
good.
was talking about what God has given her. And he hasn't given all of us any of it, because we need one another. What you're strong at, they might be weak at, but when you come together, we're sitting in the hotel room last night. I've never done television interviews before. This is all new to me. I'm like, what am I going to do? She's like, listen, the Lord says to her, this is second nature. To me, this is a whole new world.
But when I go to get up a preach, I have Dial her shaking in my shoes, because
God's got this, so it's amazing to just be able to.
So it's not that crazy, because some people are like, oh, where do I find a mentor? What am I going to do? How am I going to find one? I think it is like looking for the people.
Yes.
Looking for those people, being aware and open and saying, wait a second, there's something there that she has that I need to
and not being afraid to learn from somebody that's so much younger than you.
Yes.
Taking off the...
Wait, say that again really loud again.
Not being afraid to learn from somebody that's so much younger than you.
There you go.
I mean, she's relevant, she's an actress, she's being used in such a mighty way. And to be honest with you, I love the Lord, I love the Word of God. You give me your ear and I'm going to give it to you. But I never had the vision to reach multitudes. And she's like, that's all I do is, everything she did was so huge that she just had such this big way of thinking, and her mom too. And they're so like, Bessie, you just got to release it and let God do. And that's really how we got together with publishing the book. She just said, let me call this publisher and she sent over the manuscript. She literally pushed me into publishing Beauty Inside Out. And then the Lord just took it from there.
So do you connect weekly, or is it just a very more organic way of just calling whenever you need?
Well, we'll go a couple of days and talk all day, a couple times a day, and then we'll sometimes go a couple weeks and she'll be busy and I'll be busy, but we always pick right up where we left off. But usually, like on a weekly basis.
So takeaway for this, I think, is there are women who we need to connect with. We just need to say, God, and it's not even like, God, help me find them. They're probably right in your circle. You just need the courage to go and ask them. And I think for somebody who's older, they shouldn't be afraid of, oh my goodness, that's a lot of commitment, or what am I going to say, or I'm not equipped, or I'm too busy. I think, you know what, to be honest, we have time.
We do.
It's what we put our time towards and priorities and things, right? So we do have the time.
We do.
That is amazing. I love that. Way to go, you guys.
Thank you.
It's so inspirational, because I think we need to kind of break down that wall for women about competition and age, and say we're all in this together. We can learn from one another. She's definitely a cheerleader, and we was talking about that earlier. We were just like, you got this, Lord. It's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing to have somebody to be of that spirit of Titus and just build up and encourage. And when they come in, you're like, you feel fortified. All right, the Lord's going to use us together. We're better together. That's good. We are. Oh, it's so inspiring. Thank you. You're welcome.